All right, welcome. If you are as old as I am, Oregon Trail was a formative part of your upbringing. I remember being in my second grade classroom on our Apple II, just fighting those other 7-year-olds out of the way to play the one game I've ever been able to play in my life because no hand-eye coordination. But yes. So yes, this is You Have Died of Dysentery, a public health journey down the Oregon Trail. I am Angela Smith. But who am I? So I have a bachelor's degree in biology, pre-med, from the University of Holy Cross. I got my master's of public health in tropical medicine from the Celia Scott Weatherhead School of Public Health at Tulane University. Following that, I started doing research on mosquitoes. I was the skeet team lead at the Tyson Research Center in Eureka, Missouri. Excellent place if you are into entomological research. I've also been a health inspector for the Louisiana Department of Health. Currently, I'm an Association of Public Health Laboratories Fellow, and my host lab is the St. Tammany Parish Mosquito Abatement District. I'm also a visiting researcher at the Wesson Mosquito Ecology Lab at Tulane, so hopefully that's impressive enough, and we're all going to listen to me for the next hour or so. Yes, sorry. All right, so a little bit of background on the Oregon Trail for anyone who doesn't know. So can everyone hear me way in the back? We're all good? Hooray. Oh, a little louder? Okay, how's that? So in 1971, the game debuted as a student teaching project of Don Rawish and 2 of his other student teaching friends. It used a teleprinter, so there was no screen, so it was a bunch of middle school students interacting with a computer without any sort of like visual display. I cannot imagine trying to do that, especially at that age. In 1975, the game was updated and added to the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, MEC, which is that opening screen, timeshare network. So any Minnesota school that was a part of that network could play, again, still no screen. 1978, it was adapted for the Apple II, so suddenly we have visuals. And that's probably the version that anyone who is in their mid to late 30s or more now is familiar with playing. However, the one that we are going to be doing, the game was updated in 1985, so this was still for the Apple II, but they added enhanced graphics, landmarks, and NPCs, which are a classic part of the game. So the 1985 version is probably the one that many of us are most familiar with. However, the one that my visuals are from, unfortunately, I could not find a 1985 version online to pull my screenshots from, so we're going to be going with the 1991 to 1993 versions. It was adapted for DOS, Macintosh, and Windows. After that, they made a CD-ROM version. We had the Oregon Trail 2. Each of these had a lot of additions to the gameplay. They had additional diseases that you could get. All of them are fun and beautiful in their own way, but I was trying to go for the most nostalgic to me that I could get my hands on. So the general goal of the game, you form a covered wagon party and you set off from Independence, Missouri in hopes of reaching the Willamette Valley in Oregon to start a new life for yourself and manifest destiny, and it's fine, don't worry about it. All right, so you may do all of these options when you begin, and we're just going to hop on the trail. Many different kinds of people made the trip to Oregon. You may be a banker from Boston, a carpenter from Ohio, or a farmer from Illinois. I always go with carpenter from Ohio. I feel as though it helps me fix anything that goes wrong with the wagon. Honestly, when you look at the odds, it doesn't seem that different in the play for this particular version, but I do it anyway. Farmers just don't get enough money. Anything goes wrong, you're doomed on the trail. So, you get to choose yourself and 4 friends to come along with you. So, I cannot imagine going anywhere without my partner, Jortsman, who was the person who helped out on getting this actually playing. So, clearly, I'm going to need him in Oregon. A round of applause for Patrick. We have Danny DeVito, except his name had too many characters, Imhotep, and Sonic. So as a carpenter, we have $800. We get to go to the store and buy anything that we might need. This is a pretty basic version of the store. We can buy our oxen, food, clothing, ammunition, and spare parts. Different versions, you can get a lot of different things. Unfortunately, for the fact that this is an exploration of the diseases that you can get in this game, this version of the store does not have any remedies. So we will be on our own. All right, we're ready to start. So they wish us good luck. We have a long and difficult journey ahead of us. So we are setting off from Independence on April 1st, 1848. From Independence, it is 102 miles to the Kansas River crossing. Weather is cool, our health is good, we have plenty of food, and our next landmark is only 102 miles away. Surely nothing will go wrong before our next landmark. Oh. I know. Yes, unfortunately, Danny DeVito has a snake bite. So there were 10 species of venomous snake that were there along the trail. They became rarer as the routes became more heavily traveled because snakes don't actually want to bite you. It's very inconvenient for them. But when you are traveling through tall grass, you might step on one, you might get a little bit of bite. Unexpectedly to many people that are quite afraid of snakes, your mortality is very low, even for a completely untreated snake bite. So for something like a cottonmouth or a copperhead, less than 1 in 100, honestly, are going to have any significant, will die. It's going to be unpleasant. It's going to hurt. But it's a little bit higher for some rattlesnake species, and also depending on the location of the bite. If you somehow manage to get yourself bit in the face, or like right in the heart type parts, yeah, those are going to be a little bit worse for you. Most people are going to get bit on the extremities, feet, hands, and for the most part, you're kind of going to be okay. These days we have antivenom, so death rate down to 1 in 750 roughly. However, unfortunately, that antivenom was not available until the 1920s, so we are on our own here in 1848. But we do have many totally helpful treatments that we can try. We can do an egg yolk and salt poultice. That'll get the poison out. Other options, a tourniquet, because we don't need blood flow to that limb. It'll be fine. Also with a tourniquet, your blood pumps the entire contents of your body's blood, like every time that it beats. So that tourniquet is kind of going to get there a little low. That venom is already going to be coursing through your body. You're just going to not have oxygen in your fingers anymore, but you don't need those. Your worst option, which even in my childhood I would hear like, oh, you get bit by a snake, you have to suck the venom out. Don't do that. Then you have venom in your friend's leg and then also in your mouth. So don't do that. That doesn't help. Just wish them luck. Oh, we have hit a Kansas River crossing. Would we like to look around? Yes, of course. Look at this beautiful river. So yeah, let's continue on the trail. It's time to cross this river. Okay, we're looking at 622 feet across and 4 feet deep in the middle. What are we gonna do? Attempt to ford? Cock and float? Take a ferry? We're gonna camp for a day. All right, now we're at 3.7 feet. That's still a little high. Let's see, we're gonna camp for another day. Ooh, 3.4 feet. Oh, no, I was scared. It was our very first river. I'm not experienced. We're gonna cock and float. Oh, the wagon tipped over. We lost a wagon wheel. It's not that bad. 1 wagon wheel, we don't need that. I got 2. We're fine. So, next, we are headed to the Big Blue River, and surely nothing will go wrong. Surely nothing will go wrong. Yeah, Sonic went a little too fast. Sonic got a broken leg. All right, so hopefully it was just a closed fracture. Those just need to be set. If we have an open fracture, there's a pretty significant threat of gangrene. And gangrene is about 100% mortality if it's left untreated. No worries though, surely there are tons of doctors around, except it's 1848, and at the time there was absolutely no mandate for doctors to have any specific training on anything. Anyone could call themselves a doctor, they could join a wagon party. People died. So also, a fracture in adults significantly reduced your available labor in the party. So if you need someone who's going to be going out and hunting or even cooking food, washing clothes, there's a lot you have to do when your entire life is living in one wagon. And if you have a broken bone, that's going to significantly hinder your ability to do that. But we made it to the Big Blue River. Oh, yikes. Now that's loud. That's so loud. All right, 229 feet across, 2.3 feet deep. We've got this. We're going to attempt a ford. We did it. We're professionals now, we've got this. And we made it to Fort Kearney. We're doing great. It's May 2nd, it's a beautiful day. We've got it. All of our troubles are behind us, we're moving on. All right, Imhotep has typhoid. We know the doctors don't know anything. Let's see what we're in for. All right. So typhoid is caused by a bacteria, Salmonella typhi. You get it through the fecal-oral route, so that means someone is having a bowel movement, and that is somehow making its way into your mouth, either through contaminated food, contaminated water, or I don't know, maybe you're just into kinky stuff. Our symptoms, we have a high fever, weakness, abdominal pain, either constipation or severe diarrhea, could go either way, keeping it fun, headaches, and that rash, as we can see in our beautiful picture there. So let's talk about typhoid. What did it mean? So poor Imhotep, he has a potential mortality rate of about 10 to 20%. At the time, they thought it was caused by maybe bad air or bad smells, or honestly, frequently, poor people. Don't worry, we have treatment options. We could give them turpentine or quinine, leeches perhaps. You don't want them to have too much blood in there. Or my favorite, brandy. Let's just get them drunk. They'll feel better. So a few interesting historical notes on typhoid. The earliest known potential, we can't prove it, 430 BC was a long time ago, but the plague of Athens, it seems as though was probably caused by typhoid. So this was during the Peloponnesian War. The Athens navy was very strong, but their army not so much. So in order to avoid the Spartan army that they could not really fight against effectively, they concentrated their population in the cities where they could wall them all off. But suddenly you have an entire city-state worth of people in a very condensed area that was not meant to have that many people, and hygiene did rather suffer because of that. So it actually ended up wiping out 25% of the population of Athens. And it ended up really meaning that they did not have much of a chance in the Peloponnesian War. Spartans got the upper hand at that point. More recently, and this is after our trail, but we're going to go there, Typhoid Mary. If you know something about typhoid, maybe you know about Typhoid Mary. Her name was Mary Mallon. She's the first known asymptomatic carrier of any disease, ever. First one that we know about. So she was a cook. She worked for wealthy families in New York City and managed to infect 120 people with typhoid. 5 of them died. So these are mothers, fathers, children, everyone. She had the specialty of like a lemon ice that she would make. And when you're cooking food, maybe your hygiene isn't the best, but the food gets cooked and it goes out to the family. Might be safe. But that lemon ice, it's going out without any sort of way to keep that disease from spreading. So that ice cream is really what did it. She never believed that she was able to pass this on, because again, she was the first one we ever knew of. It's not surprising that they're telling you, oh, you're making everyone sick, but she's not sick. How is she making everyone else sick when she is perfectly fine? She lived her entire life with no symptoms. She ended up being forcibly confined by the state of New York between 1907 and 1910. She was released under the agreement that she would never again serve as a cook in another family. And they set her up with a job as a laundress. Unfortunately, a laundress makes $20, and a cook makes $50. So, and the life of a laundress is incredibly difficult. It's very hard work, and she ended up hurting her hand, and she couldn't do it anymore. So she went back to cooking. People started getting sick again. They tracked her down, and she was confined until she died in 1938. And the whole time, and you can see how pleased she is based on that picture. The whole time she denied ever doing anything wrong. So should we be worried about typhoid? In the US, not really. We have improved hygiene. Our sewage is generally quite well managed. We have about 400 diagnosed cases a year, and most of those are travel associated. So we don't have a lot that are popping up in the US based on the conditions that we are dealing with here. But if you want to travel across the world, yeah, it's something you kind of want to look out for. There are 11 million cases every year and 130,000 deaths, concentrated in South and Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. We can see our lovely little heat map there. But no worries if you want to travel to those areas. We have a vaccine. It's not great. First one was 1896. We got a better one in 1934. I've heard that there's a new one that came out in the last couple years that's even better. The 1934 vaccine was about 50 to 80% effective, and it lasted for 2 years. So it's not a one and done. But if you're going to travel, it's definitely better than just winging it. Also, just be careful about the foods that you're eating, and try to avoid any area with open sewage. Obviously, seems like a good idea to me. So antibiotics are also effective because this is a bacteria. However, unfortunately, there's been growing resistance to the antibiotics that treat typhoid since the 1980s. But don't worry, we're at Chimney Rock. And again, we're fine. We figured it out. Imhotep's going to be fine. All right. So we had a fire. We've lost some clothing. We lost a lot of bullets. 3 wagon wheels, 253 pounds of food. We'll hunt for more. Maybe not with those bullets, but we have other bullets. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And we made it to Fort Laramie. Yeah, we could buy bullets, but I'm kind of in a hurry. Let's get moving. Independence Rock. We made it between 2 whole landmarks. Nothing went wrong. We're doing fine now. We've hit our stride. Oh no. All right, so Imhotep has a fever. And you'll notice that it doesn't say what kind of fever. I mean, typhoid is a fever. He already had that, but we're guessing this is a new fever. And because it doesn't specify which fever, and because I am an entomologist by trade that spend most of my time studying mosquitoes, we're going with a mosquito-borne fever. He got malaria. All right, so the causative agent of malaria is not a virus or a bacteria, it's actually a parasite. There are multiple Plasmodium species, the worst being Plasmodium falciparum. The transmission route is through through mosquitoes, specifically the Anopheles species of mosquitoes, and that is an Anopheles gambiae right there. They have this very distinct biting stature where they crouch real low and then, butt up. So our malaria symptoms to look out for: a cyclical fever. You'll get a fever, it'll back off. You'll get a fever, it'll back off. And sometimes you'll find that it's kind of, if you see that, it's definitely malaria, but not all types of malaria have that distinguished pattern. So any high fever, you definitely want to look out for it. Also fatigue, vomiting, headaches, and if things get real bad, coma and death. So malaria, we don't have that in the US, right? When did we have malaria in the US? Well, we did used to. It wasn't eliminated from the US until the 1950s, which shocked me when I saw a map in my school textbook when I was in middle school. And we have a little occurrence map right up there, and you'll notice that the occurrence of malaria kind of lines right up with our Oregon Trail. How could that have happened? So you can see the most common places for malaria are in the South. Why do we have so much malaria in the South? The slave trade. It was the slave trade. That's how we got it in the US. What caused it? Well, at the time, bad air. And you hear bad air causing diseases a lot, but this is the OG. This is the classic. Malaria literally means bad area, air. The treatment, we've got one that works this time. It's quinine. And in some versions of the Oregon Trail, you can actually get quinine from your general store. Not this one. We don't have any. But quinine was isolated from cinchona bark in 1820. Again, like I said, sometimes you can get it, we can't get it. But we actually used quinine to the point where the cinchona tree was pretty endangered. So we can make it synthetically now. We're fine. We have other versions as well. But fun fact about malaria, the earliest evidence of malaria predates humans. It was in preserved mosquitoes in amber that were 30 million years old. So it has evolved with us from the dawn of our existence. It's responsible for billions of deaths. Some people would say as high as 50 billion. That number is absurd. That's probably way too high. But definitely 1 to 2 billion is a reasonable number. More people have died of malaria than anything ever. I mean, other than, just the fact that everyone will die eventually. So malaria also shaped human evolution. Sickle cell disease is the most common one that we bring up, but there are a ton of various adaptations that the human body developed. So sickle cell disease, we have a cure for it now. It's incredibly difficult. It's not available to everyone, but in a few cases we've managed to cure sickle cell disease. But basically, it is these blood cells where when your blood isn't oxygenated enough, the blood cell, which should be nice and round, it's like a little donut with a little meniscus in the center, it will collapse in on itself and look just kind of like a crescent moon shape. And that is not great when you're trying to just go about your day. They'll kind of like agglutinate all together. They'll make these big like clots, basically, and they can cause severe pain and death. But if you only have one parent who had the trait and then the other one didn't, you might be lucky enough that you have sickle cell trait instead of sickle cell disease, and then your blood cells are just different enough that the Plasmodium parasite can't really build a home in them. They can't reproduce in your blood cells like they normally would. So that's protective, and you end up surviving. So this dangerous disease that can kill you persists in population because there was so much malaria that it becomes beneficial to have the trait as long as you don't have the disease. So that's a little bit of fun disease background. So should we be worried? In the US, like I said, it was eliminated in the 1950s. However, we have had recent locally acquired cases in Texas and Florida, which I wrote, and then I had someone tell me, oh, you realize they had them in Arkansas last year as well, right? I'm like, Arkansas? That's not even a port. So we do occasionally have a little bit of malaria here now, and we still have the mosquitoes that cause malaria, so if it were to get a foothold, it could theoretically spread. But our built environment is very protective. We have screens in our windows, we have air conditioning. We spent the first half of the 1900s absolutely decimating our wetlands to get rid of all of these diseases. Horrible for like storm protection, but good for not dying of malaria, I guess. But so far as travel-associated malaria, you definitely want to protect yourself if you're going to a place where it is endemic. We have about 2,000 cases of travel-associated malaria per year. And sometimes they can actually lay dormant in your liver for, up to years. So if you have malaria symptoms, but you haven't traveled to some place with malaria since, several years ago, still bring it up to your doctor. It might be important. Worldwide, malaria is still a massive issue. There are 250 million cases a year and 600,000 deaths. There is a vaccine. It was approved in 2023. There were two different vaccines, the 2022 and 2023. The 2023 one is better. But it's still only about 75% effective against severe disease and not super effective against not having any disease at all. But better than bad is, I'll take it. There are also preventatives and treatment if you're going to be traveling to an area where it's endemic. Definitely stay up to date on those, but if you're a person who lives there full time, you're going to rely on bed nets, screens, and protective clothing. We made it to South Pass! And we made it to the Green River. So we must cross the river. It is 403 feet across and 20 feet deep. Yeah, we're taking the ferry. It's $5. That's half a wagon wheel. Yay! All right. We can see how good I am at hand-eye coordination. Yeah! Got him. Oh. We already talked about broken bones. So, Soda Springs, we have made it. And again, surely nothing else could possibly go wrong. I'm so sorry, Patrick, you got the classic. All right. Jortsman has dysentery. Let's learn about dysentery. So dysentery, also known as the bloody flux. It was not one specific disease. It's more of a condition. So that would be any sort of diarrhea that is bloody, purulent, or mucus. I laugh at the word purulent because you always want to say bloody, mucusy, or pussy. That's not the word. It's purulent. Other symptoms would include fever, abdominal pain, and dehydration. So there are multiple things that can cause it. Two of the most common are the Shigella bacteria or Entamoeba histolytica. Intestinal worms can also cause bloody diarrhea. And the transmission route for most of those is going to be your fecal-oral classic. So history of dysentery, a little difficult because it is multiple conditions and not just one, but the mortality is variable. It's pretty low in Shigella, but children are at the highest risk. Entamoeba histolytica is the highest in older adults, also high in children, but not quite as high as in older adults. Your cause, unsanitary conditions. And this is one, they knew it was unsanitary conditions, even before they knew that it was a transmissible pathogen, because it was very commonly seen in military camps. It's hard to keep all of those young men keeping all of their various functions clean and orderly. So all throughout history, this was very common. Your treatment, castor oil, that'll help. And it's another one where it has evolved with humans for all of recorded history. We have notable deaths include Constantine IV, Henry V, and David Livingstone. So should we be worried now? In the US, somewhat. There are 450,000 cases of shigellosis every year. That's an estimate. Again, it wasn't until fairly recent that we had PCR tests that could tell you exactly what was causing your weird poo stuff. So a little bit of an estimate, but it is a pretty common foodborne disease. There's actually an outbreak going on in Portland associated with homeless camps. Again, anytime that you are not properly taking care of the needs of people's hygiene, it's going to be popping up. Portland notable because that's where the Oregon Trail ends, more or less. So they're just throwback to history. So Entamoeba histolytica is rare and usually only travel associated. But worldwide, there are 165 million cases and 1.2 million deaths every year. Deaths are most common for people who have a compromised immune system. So if someone has HIV or children or the elderly naturally have a bit less robust of an immune system, or pregnant women also have some issues there. So there's no vaccine for any of the causes. Prevention is just hygiene. Treatment includes antibiotics and rehydration. And we are at Fort Hall. It's August, we're getting to the end of the summer. Surely we'll be making it to Oregon in time. Oh no, that's me. Oh yeah, we're also out of food. Don't worry, we'll find some. I won't find some because I have cholera, but surely someone will. So cholera, causative agent is a bacteria, Vibrio cholerae. Transmission route, once again, fecal-oral. That is a big one. So when we think of these wagon trains, we kind of think that like Laura Ingalls Wilder, like one wagon, like just our family against the giant prairie. But these wagon trains tended to be quite large. We'll hear later about one who's 500 people, or 500 wagons all leaving Independence at the same time. So if it was one wagon, you would be having a little bit less of these hygiene issues, but these are massive, massive parties of people in an incredibly tight area. So you're gonna have some issues with crowding and hygiene issues. So symptoms of cholera: profuse watery diarrhea, described as rice water stool, with a fishy odor. Beyond that, and the rest of these are all just severe hydration. So your muscle cramps and your vomiting, it's all just a function of your dehydration. Historically, mortality was about 50% without treatment, because again, when I say profuse diarrhea, everything inside is coming outside. The cause, miasmas, again, that's bad air. Soil contamination was a theory, and then also God's wrath. And God did it is a big explanation for disease in history, but this one in particular, he felt extra wrathful. Treatment included bloodletting, great, that'll help. Laxatives, sure. Surely this is all a good thing, right? You're going that much because you got to get it out. So let's just do it some more. And there have been 7 global pandemics of cholera since its first description in 1817. So it's been around longer than that, but it never really got to that level of virulence that it kind of like traveled through the entire world before that. Earliest descriptions are from about the 1600s in Southeast Asia. So the first pandemic was in 1817. The Oregon Trail itself occurred at the beginning of the 3rd pandemic. And we're currently in a pandemic as well, which started in 1961 and just kind of never ended. As someone who has had significant training in epidemiology, we all learn about John Snow and the Broad Street Pump in London. No, I cut that. It was going long, so I cut my maps of all of that. But basically, John Snow, not the Game of Thrones one, different guy, he was looking at the patterns of cholera in London. And at the time, most people were getting their water either from the river, or they were getting it from various pumps that were located throughout the city. So there seemed to be this big group of people in one specific area that were getting cholera at this massive rate. But some people in that little space weren't getting it. So he went door to door and he asked everyone, hey, tell me about your life. And he just figured out, like, where do you work? Where do you get your water? All of that. How do you cook your food? And he noticed that the people within that area of high concentration of cholera that weren't getting sick were all of these people who worked at the brewery. And those people got free beer. And why drink water when you can get the beer for free? So that was one of the first instances of epidemiological study. So he is one of our forefathers. We love John Snow. So should we be worried in the US? No, probably not. Not right now. We eliminated it in the 20th century. There are a few travel-associated cases, but even those are incredibly low, so about 20 a year, and that's about as low as we're going to see for any of these diseases. But maybe we should worry a little bit, because Haiti had eliminated cholera for over 100 years, and then after the 2010 earthquake, it suddenly re-established itself in certain parts of the country. So we're only a massive amount of devastation away from maybe this is our fate again. You never know when everything that we have built to keep us safe might come tumbling down. Worldwide, it is still a massive issue. There are 3 to 5 million cases a year with 28 to 130,000 deaths. It's difficult to get exact numbers because a lot of these are happening in areas that do not have good reporting. There is a vaccine. Oral vaccine only lasts for 6 months. So if you're going to travel to an area where you might get sick, go ahead and take that, but it's not going to keep you safe forever. Prevention, clean water, sanitation, hygiene, and treatment is rehydration, potentially antibiotics, but again, we worry the amount of antibiotics it takes to clear this infection is really high. And the more antibiotics you give someone, the more likely that disease is going to become resistant to those antibiotics. And so we have this little picture down here. That's a cholera bed. And you'll notice, when you poop a lot, you don't have time to take off your pants. You don't have time to get out of bed. You just get to lay in the bed with the hole in it, and you put that bucket underneath. There's actually the movie, The Painted Veil. You get to watch Edward Norton die of cholera. I tried to find a clip of it, but I couldn't find one. But if you want to watch Edward Norton die of cholera, The Painted Veil, go for it. That's for you. And we made it to Fort Boise. Oh no! All right, so the measles, causative agent is a virus, morbillivirus hominis. The transmission route is airborne and direct contact. And fun fact about measles, you don't even have to be in the same room as the person that you get it from. It will stay in the air for up to 2 hours. The R0 is 12 to 18. R0 is a description of how many people would become infected after you contacted them in a completely naive population. So you go to an island, the people in that island have never been exposed to a disease before. How many people will get sick from you breathing on them? It's incredibly high. Flu is usually about 1.2. I was about to say coronavirus, but there have been so many different versions with various. But coronavirus is about 2, some of the worst ones about 3. So 12 to 18 people getting sick from one infection is insane. Your symptoms, we have fever, we have cough, we have conjunctivitis, which causes photophobia, a rash starting on the face or the ears and white spots inside the mouth. Historically, the mortality was as high as 20% in children ages 1 to 4. And in naive populations, again, where no one had ever been exposed to that. The fun thing about diseases is when they go through a population for the first time and everyone who's the most susceptible dies, everyone who does survive passes on those genes, and so each subsequent generation gets a little bit better at surviving it. And so that's why I say 20% mortality in children. That's not what we're seeing now, for multiple reasons, both that pretty much the entire world has been exposed at this point, so most people have natural immunity through genetics. And then also, we have generally better nutrition now, and that contributes a lot to your ability to survive it. Cause miasmas, and then this being a childhood disease, clearly it's the mother's fault. So contamination in the breast milk or corruption of the blood during pregnancy, clearly that's what caused it. The treatment for once isn't leeches or bloodletting or chopping off a finger or something. It's rest and nutrition. That's a good one. Let's do that. It initially appeared around 600 BCE. It evolved from rinderpest. Rinderpest is a disease of cattle, which has the fun designation of being one of 2 diseases we have ever eradicated. The first being smallpox. Horrible. Hooray. Don't want any more of that. Rinderpest, not a human disease, but it was still incredibly devastating, and rinderpest going to new areas was part of how the Europeans were able to conquer the world, because we destroyed the food source and the wealth of all of the people that we came into contact with. Yay. So yeah, we're going to talk about Andrew Wakefield for 2 seconds. Yeah, okay. So in 1998, he did a case study of 12 children, 12, a case study. This was not, there were no controls, there was not a treatment group and a control group. No, it was just, I saw this thing in 12 people, therefore. So the study itself admitted that there was no causal link between autism, bowel inflammation, and the MMR vaccine, but Wakefield still had a press conference urging a complete pause to all MMR vaccines in the UK. This led to him being stripped of his medical license. However, he still doesn't need that. He makes plenty of money on the speech circuit. So we have more than 12 people in the room right now. How many of you got an MMR vaccine? Okay, how many of you are diagnosed or maybe have a little bit of autism? Oh, well that's barely any. And how many people have died of the measles? So I think we're doing okay. I appreciate not having died of the measles, and also there's no proof anyway. The only studies that found any sort of link were the ones that he did and were funded by people specifically looking to find a link. There have been multiple other studies, and there is no reason to believe that that is true. So should we be worried? In the US, I don't know, are you vaccinated? If you are, you're probably fine. It was declared eliminated in the year 2000, but guess what? Not anymore. Yeah. So in 2025, there were 2,144 cases and 3 deaths. And that is 3 deaths with the best possible care in hospitals with all of the supportive therapies that are available. We still had 3 deaths. And the measles vaccine is still officially recommended by the CDC. I know that we just dropped 6 of the 17. They're still recommending that one. Let's hope they stick with it. Worldwide, even if you are in an area where they have a lot of it, you're probably going to be fine if you are able to get that vaccine. 1 dose is 93% effective. That's lifetime efficacy. It's not like our cholera vaccine where it lasts for 6 months. This lasts your entire life. 2 doses, 97% effective. So the 10 million cases a year and 95,000 deaths are in people who are largely unvaccinated. So treatment is to manage the symptoms, Tylenol for the fever, hydration, vitamin A. So RFK is like, oh, just give them vitamin A, it'll be fine. So vitamin A deficiency is associated with more severe forms of the disease, but that's for people who have a deficiency. It's not a preventative or a cure, and if you just feed yourself thousands and thousands of milligrams of vitamin A, that can also kill you. But we're at the Blue Mountains, we're getting there, guys, we are almost there. It's November 26th, we hit a blizzard, who would have thought? You know who else hit a blizzard in November? All right, so the Donner Party, they were on the California Trail, not the Oregon Trail. They started on the Oregon Trail, it diverges along the way. So they're originally from Springfield, Illinois, where I did my last 2 years of high school, woo-hoo. They left from Independence, Missouri with a group of 500 wagons in the spring of 1846, but they split off from the larger party at the New Hastings Cutoff. So Lansford Hastings, great guy, proposed an alternate route, saying that it was smooth with plenty of water, it was 350 miles shorter, and there were no hostile natives along the way. It was actually 125 miles longer, and it was a new trail, so it was not cut, and it wasn't really all that well mapped. So he said he was going to be waiting at a fort, and he was going to usher them along the way. He had already left with a different party. But he left some notes, being like, don't worry, guys, follow us, it'll be fine. It was not fine. In some parts, they only progressed about 1.5 miles per day. They were fighting their way through uncut brush, up the sides of mountains, And because this took so much longer, by the time they hit the proper trail again, it was incredibly late in the year. So an early snowstorm, they got there in the early November, and usually the snows didn't start until mid-November. It trapped them in the Sierra Nevadas, in a place now called Donner Pass, so clearly something great happened there. Many of them. You know it's a great time when the area is named after you. They ended up making a camp along the banks of a lake because they just could not make it any further through the mountains. They survived on rodents. They started eating the oxhide roofs of their own cabins, which then no longer was a very functional cabin, now was it? And eventually they started eating each other. So there isn't really much record of the people who stayed in the encampment doing that, but there were at multiple points people attempted to leave the camp and go for help anytime there was a bit of a break in the snow. And so those groups of people, they just kept kind of dying, and once the people had died and everyone else is starving to death, you do what you have to do. The only reported murders were of their 2 Native American guides, who were almost to die anyway. They had gone ahead, they had been not seen for 25 days, and when they finally found them, they were still alive, but clearly they were about to die, and no one was ever punished for those murders. Eventually, they made it to help. They brought people back to help. It was a lot of children, honestly. It was dozens of children left at the original camp, about half of them ended up dying overall. And it was horrifying. It was a really bad time for them. So I think maybe we should hunt again? You think maybe we should hunt? I mean, we have 9 pounds of food. That'll get us through the winter. Am I? Yeah, you can carry 100 pounds at a time. You have to leave and come back in order to hunt again. We're doing better this time. I got the hang of it. It's important to have variety in your diet. I also was using a laptop that didn't have the requisite directional keys, so I could only point my gun in certain directions. All right, we're heading on. And we made it to the Dalles. We're moving on. So we can either float down the Columbia River or take the toll road. The toll road's really boring. We're gonna do it. I believe in me at this point. We've been through a lot. I think we can do it. So after passing the 3rd direction sign, land your raft at the trail. Sounds easy enough. There aren't even that many rocks. We're doing great. So pass the direction sign. Third of a way there. This is easy. We've got this. Did we pass? How many direction signs did we pass? Rest in peace, Imhotep. I didn't mean to. I was just looking to see if we had more direction signs. Again, did I mention I don't even have the requisite number of directional buttons while I'm doing this? We're just gonna stay over here. There are no rocks over here. It's fine. Oh, number 3. Here's the thing, I did miss that one. So you'd think I would be coming over to the other side of the river right now. Oops. I'm so sorry, Sonic. He's going fast in heaven. All right, we made it to the Willamette Valley. We've survived a lot. We actually made it on Taylor Swift's birthday. She's not born yet, but she will be. Congratulations, we've made it to Oregon. Let's see how many points you've received. We have 2 people left alive. We're out of oxen, we lost them all. I had 6 bullets left. But I had so much cash. Why did I even, I could have taken the toll road. All right. But hey, we're number 6. All right, thank you all so much. We made it. All right, my contact and Instagram are up there if you want to follow me. I am completely not online. That's my cat and my at-home colony of mosquitoes, which are going to be featured in my next panel, which is right now. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. They do not have malaria now. That I know of. I raised them from eggs. You will see in the next... No, well, you won't. I didn't bring them. But yes, they have bitten me and only me in their life. Yes. It wasn't at the time. It hadn't been invented yet. Yeah, the vast majority of people who get antivenom will be cured, but it's not magic. So some people either just don't respond to it, they might not get it in time, or sometimes you'll get the wrong antivenom. In the US, it's pretty easy. Pretty much all of our venomous snakes are pit vipers. But if you travel to other areas where there's a bit more venomous snake diversity, it's a lot more difficult to make sure that you're getting the right antivenom. And in some places, the snakes have been separated for long enough that if you get an antivenom that was developed based on the snakes that live at low elevation, but you got bit at a higher elevation, you're no longer will respond to that antivenom. Sure. Yeah, I got some prime spots, but we're good.